Big thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Nigel, and today we're going to be talking about this. This is an $800 cinema camera that came out August of last year. This is the Z Cam E2C. It's a budget-friendly cinema camera, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out, shoot with it for a while. I'm going to see what I like and don't like about it. So if you haven't heard about this camera before, this is like the little brother of the very popular Z Cam E2. This is a micro four thirds camera. It shoots in cinema 4K, and it can do H.265 into a little SD card, and you can shoot in Z-Log, which is a flat profile for this camera. So I kind of have it rigged up a little bit. I have my port keys P6, my Miike 25mm f2. So if you haven't watched the other video that I've done where I put a newer camera up against my GH3 just to kind of see the differences in usability and image quality, you can check out this video right there. I did one on the Blackmagic Pocket 4K. But this one is actually cheaper than the Blackmagic Pocket 4K. But something that I really thought was intriguing about this Z Cam E2C was just how small it is. Like if you take the lens off and take the monitor off, this is just a small little box. And I feel like this would be way easier to balance on a gimbal and just to rig out into like a little small cinema rig. So that's something that I think that this camera definitely has going for it. So let's go out and shoot with it, and we'll talk about what I like and don't like about it. So I only actually had this camera for about 3 days, and to be honest, that just really isn't enough time to really learn a camera. I tried setting up a shot like this in my little studio here, and there were just some quirky things about the camera that I kind of learned the hard way. So all of these shots that you saw in that little short montage were all shot in cinema 4K. So then I decided, okay, well, why don't I try to shoot a shot similar to this in my little studio here, and I put it into 1080p. The problem is it crops into the sensor on 1080p, which is kind of a bummer because if I'm going to be doing a bunch of YouTube videos, I'm probably going to shoot in 1080p and not 4K. So that was one big bummer to me. I like having the option of 4K, but for these longer winded talking head A-roll shots, I usually like to shoot in 1080p. And that was just one thing that kind of bummed me out, is that it cropped into the sensor so much that I have to change my entire setup if I wanted to do it that way. And that's just one thing that I really want to talk about a little bit, is that I am pretty confident that I can get really good images out of my GH3, and it's not because the GH3 is such a great camera, it's just that I know it backwards and front. And I feel like to get good results out of a camera, you really need to learn it well. And speaking of learning, let's talk about today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. Now, if you haven't heard of Skillshare before, it's basically an online learning community for creative and curious people. Skillshare offers thousands of classes, whether it be for video, photography, graphic design, music production. There are so many classes with so much useful information that just really helps you gain more knowledge on any subject that you're interested in. One class that I would definitely recommend, which is one that I took, was Introduction to Aerial Videography by Wild Rabbit Productions. I am definitely a pretty novice drone pilot, and I really want to get better. And so what better way to learn how to be a better drone pilot and get more cinematic shots than taking a class on Skillshare. So one really cool thing is that the first 1,000 people to click the link in the description below are going to get a free trial of a premium membership on Skillshare, which is an insane deal. So definitely be sure to be one of those 1,000 people to click the link in the description below. Big thanks to Skillshare again for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to talking about the Z Cam. So working with this Z Cam footage was a little bit tricky, mostly just because of the H.265. I do, again, wish that they had ProRes internally. If the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera can do it, then I'm pretty sure Z Cam could do it. That's one thing that I just was kind of having trouble with, because H.265 does slow my machine down a bit, so I did transcode them all to ProRes so that they'd be a little bit easier to work with. The log footage coming out of this camera, it is a little bit tricky to grade, and the thing that I really was confused about is that Z Cam doesn't really have a place that you can just download a Z-Log to Rec 709 LUT. There are a bunch of different LUTs that you can download, and I'm sure there is just a basic Z-Log to Rec 709. Their website and LUT download structure is all really weird, and I wish that Z-Cam's website was a little bit more intuitive to just go and download single LUTs instead of an entire LUT pack filled with all of these different options. So that's one thing that I kind of had a problem with. This is what the footage looked like coming straight out of the Z-Cam, and this is what I graded it to. Just a very basic Rec 709 look. But yeah, I did take a little bit of finessing when it came to working with this Z Cam footage. So what is my conclusion when it comes to this little Z Cam E2C? Well, I really like it. I love how small it is, and I love how easy it is to use. Some things that I really wish it had was ProRes. I love being able to shoot in ProRes, and this just sadly doesn't have it. I think you can do it externally, but I don't ever shoot externally to an external recorder. Would I switch to this camera? Honestly, no. It's just a usability thing. It just doesn't have the same ease of use as like a DSLR or mirrorless camera does, especially for content creators. So that's why I just couldn't see myself ever switching to a Z Cam like this permanently. I know a lot of YouTubers that I really admire use Z Cam, and they make great looking stuff, but right now I feel like I'm still a hybrid shooter type of person where I just need the usability of having a flip screen and having a nice grip to hold on to, and just having everything that I need on the camera without having to build it out so much. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Big thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. If you liked it, it'd be really cool if you hit the like button, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can click on either side of my face. Thank you all again so much for stopping by, and I'll see you next time. Later.